I need to get a haircut, chat, because I'm starting to grow the mohawk. Welcome to the show. Hopefully, you guys are having a bad day, like myself, but maybe we can entertain each other. How about that? Um, yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult day today because it's been 1 year since my mom passed away, and tomorrow I have to go do some rituals that are required, and I genuinely like hate these rituals, like these funeral things, because like you make peace with it and you move on, and then it's like, oh, by the way, last year, this day, it's very bizarre. Like who came up with them though? Like who came up with them? Just it is what it is. In the meantime, let's see what happened today. We got on Twitter. Give me 1 second so I can open it up, because I did say, yeah. So like this guy, is trying to attack, I guess, Romanians for not loving communism. Like it's so bizarre when you look at it. And the thing is, like you got not all communists, by the way. Like most communists at least have the decency to say not all communism, But there are a couple of communists that I guess they're called tankies. They really like the Soviet Union, and they really like the Iron Curtain, despite the fact that they didn't benefit from it, so they never lived under it. And they will tell a Romanian that actually, it was a good thing. And there was like this Romanian lady, which pointed out that her father was arrested by the Ceausescu regime, and he was placed in a labor camp. So these individuals, they're like, oh, well, your father deserved it. I have never seen like so many he deserved it that did that thing, So, I was thinking like, do they even know what Romanian communism is? Because when you look at it, no abortions, right? Like a complete ban on it, to the point where even contraceptives were banned. So you didn't even have access to the condom. They wanted to encourage birth rates, right? So like complete ban on any type of contraceptive. This was very harmful because a lot of women starved themselves or tried to throw themselves off the stairs, stuff like that, in order to like cause an abortion. Like it's madness. Romania ended up having a record number of handicapped children because of women trying various ways in order to abort their children. Many times illegal. It even caused a massive hepatitis epidemic, HIV epidemic, because like they would go to these underground doctors that would operate in various hotel rooms without sterilizing their instruments. It was horrible. Okay, so that's what the communists did. No abortions. Very strong border control. I mean, they would literally shoot you if you try to leave the country. So the border guards, they were instructed to say stop or I'll shoot. Then they will fire one bullet in the air, and then they would literally be obliged by the law to fire at you, right? So like if you try to run away from the country, if you were trying to pass the border, like that was their procedure, and they were instructed, if you see anyone trying to leave, first time you give them a warning, second time you fire in the air, third time you fire at them. And that was the border policy of Romania, right? A Soviet country. And then you also had so strong border controls, very, very strong gender, how do they call it? The gender binary. I mean, that was very defined. I mean, the man had the place, the woman had the place. And finally, the last thing is they criminalized homosexuality. Like many people think it's like, oh, so like what Viktor Orban or Russia does today. No. Like Viktor Orban in Russia, they criminalized the activism, right? So like the queer theory stuff. That's what they're against. In Romania, if you were caught having boot sex, you would go to prison. Like they would imprison you for any type of what they considered moral indecency. So any type of like deviant behavior was punished. So when you think about it, the communists were far right. Like they were incredibly right wing. on social issues, right? Like on economics issues, they were far left, but on social issues, if you had like if Ceausescu was on Twitter today, he would get banned for hate speech, and he would also get banned for being a far right extremist. Like literally all the policies of Ceausescu, which was the leader of the communists, were far right. The same with Stalin. If Stalin was today a politician, he would be labeled far right, unironically. So I genuinely like do not understand why these individuals are supporting, especially when you look at them and you notice that they have like all of this LGBT paraphernalia in their bio, and I'm like, yeah, but like all the socialist states of the world criminalized what you're doing. Like, there is no like the only states that permit it are capitalist nations. It's kind of weird. It's like you say like they are Soviet simps. It's like me simping for the African party in South Africa that's like shoot the boyer, right? And they have like a very strong anti-white rhetoric, and it's kind of like me simping for them. It makes no fucking sense. Like, why would you do that? It's like advocating for something that would harm you. You know, like if there's a vicious dog outside and I'm advocating for it, but if I were to go outside, that vicious dog would maul me. I don't understand this. Like, why would you do it? It's counterintuitive. China has lots of anti-degeneracy laws. I do not know the laws of China, but I will give you this. China legitimately isn't real socialism. Like, China is its own system. I would say it's more similar to Nazi Germany than the Soviet Union. But I'm talking about economics, not ideology. I just want to make it clear. But yeah, it's not a capitalist nation. It's I guess like you can call it a mixed economy, but that would be difficult because the United States is considered one, and China is definitely not like the US. But yeah, no, I don't know like what China thinks about homosexuality though. I do know that they do not allow it in movies. Like, definitely. Like, if you want homosexuality to be represented in Hollywood, your movie can't be sold into China. Where does this love for communism comes from? I can explain it. It's not difficult to understand. So, if you have a person in the United States which is having a bad time, and there's many reasons to have a bad time. Like maybe the economy isn't allowing you to move upwards. Maybe, you know, they have student debt. Or like whatever. You know, there's many reasons. I do think it's a lot of like leftist policies that are making people unhappy in the United States. Like, for example, if you can't afford a home, well, if your country allows millions of immigrants to come in, they need homes too, right? So the pricing for a home raises. But whatever. I mean, think about it this way, right? Like, in the 60s, there was a job that children could do in the United States. And that job was to mow the lawn. Like, you would go out, and you would go to one of your neighbors, and you would mow the lawn, and you would get money in exchange, right? It's how a lot of children started working and realized that, oh, well, it's a good way to make a living and I have to be responsible with the money. Like, you care about the money more when you work for it, right? So mowing the lawn, giving newspapers on a bicycle, that type of thing. Those jobs don't exist anymore or are being done by immigrants. Like, you can just hire an immigrant to mow the lawn now. So anyway, right, you have all these people that have, like, real-life problems. Like, I mean, maybe you're born with a single mom. I mean, you're already at a disadvantage, right? There's only one income in the family, rather than two. That mother has to go to work. Maybe she has two jobs. And now you can't benefit from her education. So, you know, and the whole thing with the single moms is like, well, is there an ideology in the United States that encourages people to marry, that discourages divorces? No. In fact, like, if you go on the internet, most things encourage women to divorce. Like, you go on our Reddit advice, they will be like, oh, you don't like that your husband is snoring? Well, why don't you divorce him? Your happiness is more important. Oh, you have two kids? Fuck them. Who cares? Right? So, that's the mentality that you get on the internet, online. And it is the mentality that corporations like. As I mentioned before, they like employees that are divorced, but they have to pay child support is the best type of employee that a company can ask for. Anyway, right, so you have these people that grow up very dissatisfied with their lives. On top of that, they may have a difficult time getting a date. So they have to blame someone. Now, they're not going to blame themselves. And in a certain part, maybe they're not even 100% to blame. Like if you're bored with a single mom, yeah, and she's at work most of the day, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Like for example, when I was a kid, I was skipping school a lot. My dad gave me a beating. It felt like I was hit by a truck. And from that day, I didn't skip school. But if I didn't have a dad who managed to figure out that I was skipping school, I don't know what would happen. Like, I may have not ended up in the place that I am today. So, my point is, like, two parents is definitely better, right? Now, these people, they blame society. They blame the system. They blame capitalismus. So, like, there's many alternatives that you can turn to. One of them could be religion, but let's be honest, religion is considered to be not cool nowadays. Another thing that they can turn to is to blame themselves, but like, who wants to do that? So they're like, oh, well, it's capitalism that's the problem, so clearly socialism is the answer. So this is why they become communist simps. And then you have people that go to university, and when you go to university, it's a hard life. Like, you live your parents, right? And you don't have a job, you don't make money, you only live from the allowance that your parents give you. Maybe you're in a small dorm. You're not satisfied with how life is, and then you have like other friends that are blaming communism while the university is extorting you of cash. So that's the other way you can get communist simps. Ask the Reddit or anything, have you considered gay marriage? Open marriage. That is another thing that I don't understand. Like, what the fuck is open marriage? I mean, the whole purpose of marriage is to find a significant other, and the left will definitely contest this, and they will say it's not true. But the purpose of marriage is to raise children. Like, unironically. And not only that, the purpose of marriage is as a finality. Like, it's the end of a journey. Like, here in Romania, we would consider... I suppose you would say there are three events that are crucially important in the life of a person. The birth, the marriage, and the death. Like these are the three major events which happen in life. The left doesn't consider the marriage to be one of them. The left considers the marriage to be like the cherry on top of a relationship. And one of the things that actually ruined the concept of marriage, in my opinion, is the no-fault divorce. Like I understand divorcing if, like the other person cheats on you, or if the other person can't have children, or, like there are certain cases where it's acceptable, but the no-fault divorce is something that I don't understand. And especially when one person has to pay child support and alimony and all that shit is just... I mean, you're basically making it financially acceptable. A financial incentive for the other person to divorce. Many don't know what the commies did to the working class in 1987 when they actually rose up in Bravos due to horrible condition. Oh my god. I actually spoke with a leftist online, and he said it's like, look, leftists don't want bad things, right? Like we don't want the things you're describing. And I'm like, I understand that, right? Because I'm not an idiot. Like, no one advocates for bad things. The things that you are advocating for, you want them to be done by having a big government. The problem is that the big government has no interest in giving you the things you want, and it has all the interest in fucking with you. Because government just wants one thing, more power. So like the moment you gave power to the government, it just wants more. that's why you have like bad things under communism. It's not because like communists legitimately, want to oppress people. Even though they kind of do. Like, it depends on, yeah, like for example, the ones that made the Lenin Revolution, they generally wanted to oppress the aristocracy, right? But I'm pretty sure like during the revolution they didn't think that they're going to start genociding them or locking them in labor camps and stuff, right? So it is what it is. Power and taxes is what the government wants. Yeah, like the perfect government wants to know everything there is to know about you. They don't want you to know anything there is to know about them. They want you to pay as much taxes as possible. And they want you to believe and say the things they want you to believe and say. Which are things that are not going to hold to account the people in power. Speaking to a leftist online, that was a mistake, dude. That's what I do for a living. I mean, let me show you something. By the way, my last Sakubasu came out. I don't know if I'm going to show it to you on stream, but if you have me on Twitter, you can follow it. I do like the fact that many people on Twitter are saying that if you want beautiful female characters, you're a Khmer. And you guys know the talk. I mean, I have it every night. But I just want you to look at this picture. Okay? Just the absolute state of Western entertainment. Like these are major release titles. These are video games. Some of them are good. Okay? Like this is Ghost of Tsushima. So this is actually a great title. It's not a... I'm talking about the art form. Like, why would you go with a female character that looks like this? Like, who is this for? Why are you doing it? And they will say, well, yeah, but like, there are women who look like this. And I agree, there are women who look like this. But I keep giving this example, right? Like, imagine if I have this covered in feces, right? And I drink it. And you guys are going to be disgusted, and I'll say, why are you disgusted? There are Coca-Cola cans that are bad. Right? Like, it makes no sense. It's like me eating rotten meat. And you guys are disgusted. You see the worms as they come out of my mouth as I'm chewing. And I am making a commercial for a restaurant. And when you guys say, like, V, why are you doing that? I'm like, well... meat rots. I mean, it's normal. Like, why are you promoting wasteful capitalism? Like, do you want me to throw it away? It's kind of like that, it's so fucking bizarre. I guess it's like they literally believe that if you show this in art long enough, people are going to find this attractive. But it's kind of like, the harem anime, where you have like the protagonist that's surrounded by women and they all hit on him and stuff. Imagine if like every single movie, every single TV show, every single depiction of a female character would be like a harem anime, where the women would just throw themselves at the main character. Do you honestly think like that would change the behavior of women online in real life? Like women in real life would be like, oh yes, like what I need to do is to go with 4 of my friends and start harassing a man. Because like I see it in the media, so clearly this is what I want to do. Obviously, that doesn't work that way. Like, they're literally trying, in my opinion, to pray the gay away. Like, the reason praying the gay away, or like, conversion therapy is considered immoral, is because it doesn't work, right? Like, we can't choose what we are attracted on. The same way that a man, like I myself, can't choose now to be attracted to another man. Like, you can pay me, but I will never be able... to enjoy the idea or the concept of sucking a cock. Like, it just doesn't work that way, right? And the same way I assume that a homosexual man cannot be persuaded to like a woman. Because, like, he can't help it. It's the way the preference works. But I think it's deeper than that. I think that a person who is straight just cannot be attracted into this. Right? He cannot find these things beautiful. So why are you forcing? Like who is this for? That's the question that I have, right? Because they will say, well, if you don't like this, then go watch porn. And my counter argument is, so you think that only in porn, should beautiful women exist? Like, do you think this is pornography? I think it's art. And my question is, why can't art in the West be beautiful? I'm not saying that some women can't look like this in some video games, but don't you think it's bizarre when every single title makes it look like this? And meanwhile, the men, they look pretty much like the equivalent of this. I don't understand, right? Like, and when you point it out, I mean, I know why they're doing it, but when you point it out, they start gatekeeping. They get so upset. They will call you a pedophile for liking this. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, right? Like, let's assume this is underage. I do not know the carbon date of these characters. All right, the first one. Let's assume she's underage, right? If I play a video game and I see a character like this, that doesn't mean that I want to fuck it. But at the same time, it doesn't scar my retina. Like, if I see this right here, it's not beautiful. It's not pleasant to behold. It's a caricature. And I know, like, they can do it better, right? So when I play this, it's not about, like, masturbating or whatever. It's simply about the fact that, well, it looks like a character that I can stare at the screen for more than 10 hours without having to gouge my eyes out. What the fuck is this? What is this? Huh? What is this? Like, you're taking the piss, aren't you? And by the way, like, notice how every single black female character is made as disgustingly ugly as humanly possible. And, like, you notice the trend. Every single time it's a black woman, they have to like, make it really ugly. Like, go play Neverwinter Nights or Baldur's Gate 2, and you see how they made black women in the past. Like, this is not something, it's completely ideological. And they will say, well, yeah, but, like, why does it matter? It's all about the gameplay. No, I'm sorry, it's a visual medium as well. Like, if graphics didn't matter, why would people buy the new 490 Ti? Why wouldn't we just have art that's like stick figurines? Like, they're cheaper to make, cheaper to animate. You don't have to spend so much cash. I mean, this is incredibly expensive to make. They have absolutely no argument, chat. They have absolutely no... They'll just try to shame you into submission. And the reason that they are struggling so hard to maintain this is why you need to start deconstructing it. The same way they're trying to deconstruct this, we can deconstruct this, and we're a lot more than they are. Like, if you go on Twitter and you start arguing with people, you'll notice that your posts get viral, and there's a lot more people that are agreeing with you that this is bad. Like, this is... And another thing that I want to point out, okay? The left will boycott things all the time for the smallest reason. The moment they deem something to be problematic, they will boycott it. They don't like a joke in the game. They will boycott it. They don't like the fact that the developer 10 years ago tweeted something. They will boycott it. They don't like the fact that J.K. Rowling is the one that holds the IP. They will harass VTubers who play the fucking game. Okay? This is what the left is doing. If you try to do the same for what you consider to be woke, they will insult you. They will try to marginalize you. They will say that you're review bombing. They will do literally every tactic in the book to shut you up. I don't think it's fair. I think that the person should spend money on whatever they feel like, and at the same time not spend money on also whatever they feel like. If you don't want to spend money on shit that's woke, that's your decision. You don't have to buy their shit. And you're also allowed to shame it to other people. You're allowed to say, yeah, this game, I don't like how the art design looks like, it's woke, I don't want to buy it. You don't even have to explain it. The same way they don't have to explain what problematic is. Like, how many times do the left explain, oh yeah, like this is what problematic means, and they start giving you... No, they don't do it. I mean, look at this. Look at this. So this individual, Nazis of Twitter, is saying that I have a broken brain because I insist everything looks like generic anime bullshit. I didn't say that. I never said that everything should look like generic anime bullshit. My point is that anime still knows how to make art. It's just a comparison, but like, I can give Bollywood as an example. I can show you what America used to do in the 90s. Like, anime is just something simple that many people know because many people watch it. So when I say anime, people know what to think about it. But I don't prefer necessarily the anime art style, by the way. And not to mention this and this is not anime. Like this is 3D rendered, right? And then the Nier, the same. Like, she's not anime. This is anime, I agree. And this, and this, and this, and this. But all the other ones, they're not anime. So, apparently I get mad at some because they don't make me horny. Like, first of all, a assuming that I cannot get horny from this is a very big assumption from you. Like, you genuinely do not know my power. Like, if I put my mind on it, if I'm alone on an island and this is all I got, I mean, I'm going to make use of it. But this is not the point. It's not about horniness. It's about gouging your eyes out. And not to mention, you know, like, there is something deeper and more emotional that reaches the male brain when a character looks like this or like this. Like, you automatically sympathize with them. They don't need a backstory. They don't need anything. Like, I will prove to you just how powerful the physique of a character is. When you see a guy that's a pedophile in the newspaper, right? You see a teacher or a priest that abused children. Like, you will see in the comment section that, unironically, everyone condemns that person. With no exception, and they should, obviously. And when he goes to prison, he probably gets beaten up, right? But when you see a female teacher that molests a young student, so let's say you see a teacher that looks like this or like this, and you find out that when you go to the comment section, most people are going to be nice, right? Why is that? Why is that? It's because the beauty, right, the physique is giving her an unfair advantage, is making people think different. That's why. So when you write a story, it's the same thing. Like, when you make a villainess that actually looks beautiful, it creates this interesting dynamic where, like, subconsciously the person wants to protect, but they know that the person is horrible. And this is like what I'm trying to do with my video game, and it's very interesting. Because you make like a character that's absolutely disgusting and vile, but you make them appear really beautiful and gorgeous, and you're going to see how the reader or the viewer is struggling to make sense of that. I get that you will never love or be loved, but this is deeply pathetic. It's a warning sign you're not gonna make it. Again, like, their tactic isn't to say something accurate because, like, everyone knows that I'm married, and everyone knows that I never complain about my marriage. I mean, it's, from my point of view, I'm really lucky to have my wife. But they're not interested in whether or not I'm married. Like, they're interested in virgin shaming. This is what they do. They're trying to virgin shame you into silence. Like, they want you to stop criticizing what you're criticizing. V, I understand your frustrations to how today's modern entertainment is portraying anti-femininity, but you're doing the right thing by making your own game. You'll become the Eric July of your video game. I don't think I will become the Eric July simply because the nature of my video game. It's very difficult to promote it. I can't even promote it on YouTube because the terms of service are a little bit vague. I'm going to do my best to make a video game that's enjoyable. Like, even if you're not into the type of video game that it is, I hope that the H scenes are just the cherry on top, and the gameplay will speak for itself. The characters will speak for itself. I'm very passionate about it. I recently got into an argument with my writer over it. Like we're both very passionate about it. So it's going to be like the best thing that I can create. It's going to be something that I create that I would play myself. And honestly, like, the reason that it is the way it is, that is probably going to be rated AO rather than M. Number one, it's not Baldur's Gate and it's not woke. But number two, like, literally, I wanted to make a horror game. And I wanted to make an interesting horror game, but the fact that I keep seeing people, it's like, oh, you just want porn, don't you? You don't like it? Go out. Okay, fine. I'll make my own. I get it. I'll get it. The virgin shame while promoting OnlyFans. Yes, like, I have seen people virgin shaming while promoting OnlyFans. I love the fact, like, someone pointed out that I'm married, and literally, like, the first argument is that I am tiny dick. Making fun of tiny dick people, complaining a lot about lack of jerk off. This complete loser may be married, but his wife doesn't love him, and he clearly lacks the ability to love anything. Like, the most generic, pathetic insults that you can come up with. And by the way, he is responding to this. He is responding to this, and my post was, "This is how Western game developers see women. This is how people with money that want to spend on merchandise want women to be portrayed as." And that again, like this infuriates them to no bounds. Like they are the ones that come into your DMs to attack you, and it's like, oh, you're a virgin, you're not married, you have tiny dick. Okay, that tells me that I'm winning. Unironically, like if I can upset you so much to the point where you go out of your way to come into my DMs and start arguing with people, like you're wasting your time, you're wasting your day. Instead of doing whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, and instead you're going on Twitter into my DMs, and now you're arguing with people back and forth, giving me traffic, and giving me engagement, I'm winning. I can't see why I wouldn't. And your insults are also just generic cookie cutter. At least call me a slur. Like find out what the slur for Romanians are and call me that so I can feel something. How much does Subverse make? Subverse actually got co-opted by Woke. But not only that, so like the thing with Subverse, like this is what actually ruined them. For any type of game like Subverse, promotion is the most difficult thing. Right? Because no one wants to touch it. No one wants to promote it. The algorithm suppresses you. Like, it's already an unfair advantage. And not only that, like, even finding sound effects. Like, if you go out right now and you try to find... there are certain places like Itch.io, Game Dev Market, and many other websites online which provide sound effects. And they also provide assets. Now, if you're making an adult game, they will have in their terms of service that, yes, the asset is free, the asset is fair use, but they do not allow it to be used in games that have adult content or obscenity or whatever, right? So, like, you're going to struggle to actually find sound effect. We have to make our own, by the way. Like, I have a composer that makes my own music and makes my own sound effects, and it's very difficult. And then you have people that don't want to work with you for the same reason, right? Like, for instance, in the game development business, if you're a coder and you work in adult, like you make a hentai game, AAA studios blacklist you. So it's very difficult to get people. So Subverse does this, right? And then the next difficult part is promotion. They go on Arch's platform, and Arch allows them to talk about their game, which is, you know, like, I can't say like the biggest kindness in the world, but like to find a YouTuber the size of Arch's channel who's like, all right, you know, like come here, like tell me about your game. That's fine. Like that is huge, right? So they go on Arch's channel, they talk about their game, and then someone makes I think it was like a compilation of problematic things that are said over the years, and he's like, look, Arch is a Nazi, and then they disavow Arch. Like, so they disavow Arch, and because of that, now the Daily Dot is writing articles about Arch, because normally the mainstream media doesn't write articles about you, right? But if a company says that you're bad, then they write articles. So basically the way it works, and this is why Tim Pool didn't do sponsorships either, is because, like, let's say you have Coca-Cola sponsoring you, right? People will pressure Coca-Cola to pull back because you're a Nazi. Coca-Cola pulls back because you're a Nazi, and then the newspapers write articles you're a Nazi because Coca-Cola said so. And that can get YouTube to demonetize you. So basically, what ends up happening is that it's better not to have sponsorships. That's what I'm going with. But like for a porn company to do this, like I'm thinking like, okay, so you're saying that grandma isn't going to buy Subverse for little Billy because they support Arch, which is a Nazi? It's already a porn game. Like you're not going to get high prestige in society. Okay, people are going to talk about your games around the corner. Like, you're already taboo. Who the fuck cares if Arch is a fascist? Assuming he would be. Who cares? Right? He's a business person that allows you to be on their platform to promote your shit. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, right, they eventually, like, apologized. But apparently, like, they had a social justice activist within their ranks, which was the community manager. So the community manager is the one that, like, oh, we're disavowing Arch. It may start with an anti-game, but then you start mystery puzzle games, then an RPG, then you create a gorgeously written AAA games that put to shame the big dogs. And ironically, like, I want to make a game that's just lewd, but not hentai. So I'm thinking like making a Darkest Dungeon game after this. I don't know like what it will entail, how difficult it's going to be to make, like what I will need in order to create it. But that's that's what I'm going to try to do. So if this game sells, and by sells I mean I managed to get my investment back, and believe it or not, like the game is actually very expensive to make. It's around $30,000, give or take. And a lot of people don't understand, like, how can it be $30,000? It looks like blah blah blah. Well, the coder costs around $2,500 per month. Right, so that's like just out of the blue. Every month of development, $2,500. One picture from an artist costs around $300 to $400 with commercial release, because that's the most expensive part. And the pictures that I have usually come up with edits. And the reason they're so expensive is because they have to be drawn on layers. Every part that moves has to be drawn on layers for the animation. The animation themselves, another $300 to $400. So that's like $600 to $800 per one picture. And I need around 30 to 50 in the game. And then you have the music, and then you have the assets, and then you have the pixel art. Like the pixel art themselves, it's 12 frames animation. So you have like the pixel character moving up, down, left, right. 12 frames. That means 12 times 3, because left and right, like once you do left, you just do a mirror image, and that's right as well. But like that's 12 times 3, and that's how many times the pixel artist has to draw that character, plus the skill required to make the animation. It's very expensive, right? So it adds up. A lot of people don't understand. Yeah, $2,500 is really cheap for a coder. I'm lucky that I found a person, which is an elderly fellow. Well, not very old, but older than me. He used to be a university professor at, I think it was like a UK university, and apparently he got fired due to diversity initiative. Like they wanted more people of color. He didn't have the correct pedigree, so they let him go. He was teaching Unity, I believe. So I got that guy, and I'm really happy. I mean, he does have a lot of skill. He does make a couple of things that I didn't expect. Like most coders, they know how to code, but this guy has an artistic vision. Let's put it like this. Like, he's very creative. Like, for example, I showed him, like, okay, let's have newspapers in the game. And he created some decals that have, like, coffee cups and a little bit of tears and stuff like that. And he did it without me asking, and I was impressed by that. I want to have, like, an Alex Jones type figure in the game. Like, there's going to be a radio in many rooms of the hotel, and when you turn it on at various hours, you can hear what's on the radio, and we can have Alex Jones talking about demons and stuff. And like all these things, they add immersion to the world. It makes the world feel that it's more alive. I would love to talk more about the game, honestly. But again, like I don't know the rules of YouTube. I don't know what I can and can't talk about it. So I would rather just not go into details. But no, like the people I hired are really good. Like they do really good job in the fields that they're competent. So anyway, good coders know the context, not just the piece you ask for. Sounds like you got a good one. Yeah, I'm really lucky to have him, to be honest. I hope it will have mod support. We're trying, but it's very difficult. It's also the resources available, right? Because every month of development costs me another $2,500. So honestly, I just want to finish it, but I want to make sure that it's a quality product. So it's a little bit difficult, but I think we'll manage. But for mod, it's kind of more. We'll see. I am trying for it, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. There are a lot of bad coders who sell themselves and do nothing. I wasn't worried about that because I have a good publisher. And I do watch the resume of the coder before hiring them, so there's that. Pixel art is actually expensive, yes. But I do understand why it is. I mean, if you have to... It's not like difficult to make from what I understand, because like there's a lot of pixel artists out there, but like animating it and like having to draw the same shit 100 times, I can see why it's a little bit tedious and why it's expensive. You will mod in the American flag. How much would it cost to code real demons into your game so that they can possess the player? Demons aren't real, by the way. It's fiction. It's make-believe. I know we're talking about Twitter, but come on, let's snap out of it. Whoever the voice actor for the Alex Jones is going to have much fun. I don't know if we're going to actually have voice actor for the guy, but it's probably going to be like a speech bubble on top of the radio. So like when you turn the radio on, it's going to be a speech bubble and you're going to have certain things said. I mean, I could get a voice actor, but I think it would break the atmosphere of the game because I'm trying to make people feel like they're isolated. And it is a horror game, so you do need to have dread. If you hear a human voice in it that's friendly or neutral, it takes away from the isolation. It does take place in America, yes. It would be interesting if like the thing with the voice acting is going to be difficult because I'm trying to hire some Japanese voice actresses, but hopefully we're going to manage to do that. Anyway, let's talk about the actual subject for today. I was talking about how people don't really care about their privacy anymore, and you know, like the person that asked me to make this video and to talk about the fact that there's drones that are going to watch over people's property and shit. I pointed out, like, dude, if I make this video, no one would care. It's like, what do you mean? Like, don't you have like right-wingers as your audience? And it's like, yeah, but I think it's like maybe because people feel helpless and they also believe that none of this is avoidable anymore. Like, they already resigned themselves with the idea that they're not going to have privacy. And you can look and you can notice that usually on my live streams, I have around 200 to 300 viewers. But now that I'm talking about this, which is drones in New York City over your house, it's 100 people watching. So it's not really a subject of interest. And you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not blaming you guys because you're watching, but my point isn't like how many viewers I have or anything like that. It's just like an observation that it doesn't interest people anymore. Like, people are just completely used to the idea that privacy is gone, and there's nothing they can do about it. The same like free speech. Like, free speech used to be a topic back in the day. And there were a lot of people that were interested in. Like, if you made a video and you were saying, like, look, free speech is going away, a lot of people would start talking about it. Especially because, like, the idea of, like, political opinions to be censored on the internet was ridiculous. I remember back in the day, the idea of a website censoring people for anything besides, like, scam, spam, impersonation... Like, anything besides that was unthinkable. Even for saying the N-word. Like you could go on websites in 2016 and you could say the N-word and, like, nothing would happen. It wasn't censored. It wasn't removed. It wasn't, right? It was considered rude, impolite. People would block, mute you. Eventually, you'd be blocked and muted by everyone. So, it was what it was. But my point is that back in the day, censorship was non-existent on the internet. Unless you are scamming people, unless you're a bot, unless you are doing a lot of spam or impersonation, pretending to be a mod. I guess like pissing off moderators was another thing. Like they would arbitrarily enforce that. But yeah, if you talked about free speech, then people would care. Now no one gives a shit. You know, like now it's like, well, yeah, I mean, what free speech? There isn't any. So apparently New York police will use drones to monitor backyard parties, sparking privacy concerns. Like, here's the thing. If I have a drone and I send it over by a neighbor, do you not think that they will be upset? Like, I'm also curious. Like, what if you have a drone and you send it over the police station? Will they allow it? Or I send it over a military barrack or something like that. They probably won't let you do that, right? Like, you can't, like, if you can't do something to the government, why can't the government do something to you? I'm actually curious, like, what are the laws in New York if I try to send a door over my neighbor's house? And to videotape the backyard of his house. Like, is it permissible? In Romania, it's not, by the way. In fact, like, there was a problem that you couldn't fly a drone on your property. So, like, if I tried to fly a drone on my property, they were concerned that by lifting it too high, you can see the neighbor house. Right? Shooting practice. I think, like, you gotta pay for it. Because it's government property, so, like, if you shoot it down, you may have to pay for it. I think, like, there are certain devices which shuts a drone down. Like, it actually makes it land, basically. Like, it interferes with the remote control that it has or something like that. So those attending outdoor parties or barbecues in New York City may notice an uninvited guest, a police surveillance drone. The unnamed aircraft in response to the complaints about large gatherings, including private events over Labor Day. Its caller states there's a large crowd, a large party in a backyard. We're going to be utilizing our assets to go and check the party. I mean, this is creepy as fuck. Like, even in Romania, they don't do this. The plan drew immediate backlash from privacy and civil liberties, advocating, raising questions about whether such drone use violating existing civil rights for police law surveillance. I mean, of course it does. There's no question about it. And if it doesn't, then it should. It's a troubling announcement, and it flies in the face of Post Act, which is the New York Civil Liberties Unions. Requires the NYPD to disclose its surveillance tactics. Deploying drones was a sci-fi inspired scenario. The move was announced during the security briefing, an annual Caribbean festival marketing the end of slavery that brings thousands of revelers and a heavy police presence at the streets of Brooklyn. The drones would respond to non-priority and priority calls beyond the parade route. Like many cities, New York is increasingly relying on drone to police people. Data maintained by the city shows that the police department has use of drones in public safety. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to actually even use video games to police people. Like, if you notice and you're paying attention, almost every single video gaming company right now is starting to monitor your microphone. So everything that you say in a video game is being recorded somewhere by AI. So the artificial intelligence actually monitors and records everything you're talking. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future the police can have access to what you're saying on the microphone. You may say something in a joke. I mean, actually, wasn't there like an old man being killed in the United States because he threatened Joe Biden or some shit? Right? So you may say something edgy or a joke on your microphone and immediately the police can come on knocking. Mayor Eric Adams, a former police captain, has said that he wants to see police further embrace the endless potential of drones, citing Israel's use of a technology. Yeah, but like, just because other countries do it doesn't mean you should, you know? As technology proliferates, privacy advocates say regulations have not kept up. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, you know, like, they have a point. Why can't I spy on the government? Like, who is this police officer? Can I fly a drone over his house? Over his backyard? I mean, he's got nothing to hide, right? I should be able... Shouldn't everyone be able to fly drones over his house and look at him? It's probably illegal for civilians to do it to other civilians. I'm willing to bet. I am willing to bet there's probably some law in New York City that if you do this to another person, it's illegal. One of the biggest concerns with the rush to roll out new forms of aerial surveillance is how few protection we have against seeing these cameras aimed at our backyards. But I mean, seriously, what if you want to fuck your wife in your backyard? Like there are certain places that have backyards which are surrounded by fences, and the neighbors can't see. And maybe you want to fuck your wife in the garden. Like, is that illegal? No, it shouldn't, right? So, like, if they come with a drone, aren't they going to see that? Isn't that not a violation of property? In response to a request for a comment, the mayor shared the link to new guidelines that make it easier for private operators to fly in the city, but which do not address whether the NIPD has access to the surveillance. Around 1,400 police departments across the country are currently using drones in some form. Yeah, but they don't address the issue. Like, I don't care if they use drones. Like, there can be everyone using drones. That doesn't mean that the government should be able to. You can fly drones over other people's property even in Europe. Well, it depends where and it depends what you're doing, right? I am willing to bet it's illegal if I fly a fucking drone with the purpose of surveilling your property. Or with the purpose of looking into your window. Like, I move the drone literally next to your bedroom window and I film inside. I am willing to bet that's illegal. Now, I'm pretty sure, like, if you fly over a property, like you're just flying over, that's fine. But if you're flying with the purpose of surveilling what your neighbor is doing, I think that's not fine. And I'm pretty sure, like, even in Romania, they banned this. So, when you say Europe, I think it depends on various countries. Like, some countries may allow it, some may not. Here in Los Angeles, as long as you avoid the plane paths and you have an FAA license, you can fly them wherever you want. Yeah, but I think it's the same thing, right? Why are you flying it is the question. Are you flying it because, like, you just want to fly the drone and, you know, maybe you even want to record stuff, but, like, you're just taking, like, a wide footage? Or are you flying it with the purpose to see what your neighbor is doing? Because if you're flying it, like, with the exact purpose to see what your neighbor is doing, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Like, imagine if you fly a drone then over a place, like a beach, where you have, like, nudists, right? So you fly a drone over a beach of naked women with the purpose of filming them. I'm pretty sure, like, that's illegal. I would have to check the legislation. I don't know. Depends how you work for the SAT or the BBC, yeah. Up and close when they already have satellites. I don't think, like, the satellite works that way. I don't think, like, the satellite can literally see what's in your garden. And even then, I don't think the police has access to it. Anyway, right. Take into account that Google was actually not allowed to do this. Because there were, like, a couple of Google projects which, like, have satellite imagery. And you can actually use it and zoom in. And they banned it for privacy reasons. Anyway, right, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats. And I'll see you all tomorrow.